Hello and welcome to episode 6 of Shift with Maddie. My name is Maddie, of course, and I am your host. Shift with Maddie is a podcast for the girls who are in their figuring it out era. I have just moved back from Australia. I've moved in with my parents. I'm 31 years old and I am starting completely fresh. And I want to take you with me. The podcast is all about what I'm learning throughout the process, as well as some of the identity work I've done in the past. So I'm a psychology graduate and a self-development nerd. I really wanted to create a platform where I could talk to girlies like me who might want some tips and tricks, and also just to share them. If you have any of your own, or if you have anything to add to any of my episodes, I would love to hear from you on my Instagram. My handle is Shift with Maddie, so please come and give me a follow. Today's episode, as you can see from the title, is called Mindset Skills That Pole Dancing Taught Me, as well as shaking my ass. A tee-hee-hee. And so for those of you who didn't listen to last week, I am in a position right now where I'm feeling a bit stuck. I'm trying to start my Instagram page and this podcast. This is really something I want to build into a business. This is my dream, to be able to help women all over the shop, lol. That was so British of me. To live their best lives. And right now, I'm literally in the figuring it out era. I've done it before. I've rewritten my life in quite a few sections. So I have some intel to go off of, and I'm now trying to replicate that. But my reality is I'm at the beginning of this at the minute. I am feeling the resistance. I'm feeling stuck. And I had a cheeky mentee bee a couple of weeks ago, just a little mini one, just a little cheeky one. And so I took some time to look at what I've done before and think, what can I replicate now? Because I know that it worked. So last week's episode was my first 5 steps to get myself back on track. So go give that a listen if you haven't already, please. And now I want to talk about this really big, huge part of my life and some of the really important lessons that it's taught me. This episode isn't actually about pole dancing, and you certainly don't have to be a pole dancer to listen to it. Although if you are a poler, I want to send my pole love to you. However, this is really about mental barriers I've overcome with pole dancing, which I have also either applied or am now applying to other areas in my life. So I hope you enjoy it. Without further ado, let's get into the episode. I had a real think about this when I was planning this episode, and I've picked out 4 things that I think are really important to me. And when I did the practice run for this episode, I ended up crying twice, so bear with me if that happens again. I might have got it all out of my system, who knows? As a bit of background, I've been pole dancing for 10 years. I've been instructing pole dance for 5 years. I started off in university and I've just been doing it ever since. It's such a core part of my life, not just in terms of fitness and in terms of community, but in terms of my confidence, my self-trust, my ability to put myself in difficult situations, both physically and emotionally. Some of the positions I put myself in, man. And that's kind of the backstory to my pole dancing. Now, let's get into those 4 things that I think are really important that I would absolutely love to share with you today. The first thing I learned from my pole dancing journey is act before you're ready. I know, everyone says that, but when I'm thinking about how I'm trying to launch my business now, I think back to a couple of really specific times in my pole journey where I was scared and I didn't know if it was right or if I was ready, but I did it anyway and it turned out really good, and I'm going to tell you about them as well. The first one was actually 3 months after I started pole dancing. I started in my 2nd year, and after 3 months, a space for the social secretary came up in the pole dance committee, and basically that was the person who organised all of the parties and all of the socials. And I love parties, I'll have you know. I fucking love party planning. So when that role came up, I was like, that sounds like a bit of me. I want that. But I had such imposter syndrome. I was thinking, I've only been in the society for 3 months. What the hell are they going to think of me when this newbie who can't even do an invert properly comes along and asks to be social sec? They're going to think I'm ridiculous. And I had some really harsh narratives in my head. But I decided to go for it anyway. And I got the position. And I remember feeling so happy. I think I was the only person who went for the position, to be fair. But you know what? A win's a win. A win's a win. And it worked out from there because I ended up being social sec. quite a good social sec, I'll have you know. And then I ended up being president. And I look back on my time as president, particularly when I was in my third year, as one of the main moments that I felt like I was in a flow state. I don't know how to describe it, but I hadn't learned how to be a pole dance president, but I knew inherently what to do. I felt so natural. I felt so empowered. I felt like I was in my element, like everything just clicked into place. And when I think about how I want to feel in my future career when I'm starting this page, that is the feeling that I go back to. That 21-year-old who was just bossing it with the Pole Dance Society, who managed to grow the numbers ridiculously, who managed to launch extra classes, including extra classes in a different campus, which are still going to this day. That is my legacy, I'll have you know. And that is really a feeling that I go back to now. And it was all because a little scared second year decided she was willing to potentially make a fool of herself because she wanted something. I got a bit emotional saying that. I bloody told you I'm going to cry. I'm definitely going to cry at the next one because the next one is even bigger. And that was when I first decided to become an instructor. Now, I had been pole dancing for 5 years when my pole instructor, Kat, who I love and still train with to this day, shout out to Kat, put a post on Facebook saying trainee pole instructors wanted. And I immediately got excited. My mum had a dance school growing up, so I was always teaching dance from when I was little, but to teach pole dance was like a dream. I thought this is such an incredible opportunity, but as soon as I saw that post and I started to write a response, fear was just entering my heart. And I was like, oh my goodness, Maddie, what are you thinking? You're not advanced enough to do this. You're not good enough to do this. I was thinking about all the things I couldn't do, and I felt stuck. I felt frozen. And I thought, oh my goodness, I'm going to send this message and Kat's going to laugh at me and she's going to think I'm ridiculous for even thinking about it. And genuinely, I was so scared. And I can remember how much energy it took me to overcome that feeling for long enough to press the send button, to big myself up enough to say, you know what, worst case scenario, I have to find a new pole dance instructor. I have to find a new studio, change my name, move country. No, joking. But I sent the message and I will never forget her response. And this is where I cried. She replied to that message saying, I was hoping you'd message. And it kind of hit me how much I doubted myself and how that doubt hadn't even crossed her mind. That I was perceiving myself as some idiot for going for this opportunity because I didn't feel like I was good enough. And there was someone on the other side of that opportunity just hoping that I'd done it. And I think back to that moment and the relief I felt when I see that message every time I take a risk now. And it's really helped me to make some difficult, scary decisions, like starting a podcast. Like, what the hell? I'm just sitting here bearing my heart and soul to people, and I don't know how it's going to be received. Like, I believe it's going to take off, and I believe I'm going to help people, but really, I don't know that. And my Instagram page, like, it's scary, man. It's so fucking scary putting something into the world, taking that risk on yourself sometimes. But what I've learned from pole dancing is that it is worth it, because teaching pole dance has been one of the biggest joys of the last 5 years of my life. Every time I teach, I feel so aligned, so lucky to be able to share my passion with other people, and so proud of everyone that I get to teach and work with, all of the other instructors I've been able to connect with and learn from. And it's been such a huge part of my life. And I can't help but think, what if I hadn't been brave enough to send that message? Oh my God, right? And she's crying. I bloody told you, I'm on my period, to be fair, so I'm a bit more emotional than usual. Don't mind me, just a menstruating lady. So that's my number one, act before you're ready. And I wonder if when I was saying that, there was any part of you that was thinking, oh, I've been meaning to do this, but I'm scared of what they're going to say. If there's like an area of your life, whatever that area might be, where you're feeling the same, because what I'm trying to tell myself now as I start this new chapter is you need to do it anyway. Whew, so number two, let's see if we can get through number two a bit more successfully. Number two is it's not what you do, it's how you do it. And what I mean by that is sometimes I think we think that we have to do the most difficult, most advanced, hardest version of everything that we have to do, that we constantly have to show up with our 100% capacity and 100% ability, and that if we can't do it as well as we think we could do it, then we shouldn't do it at all. And I remember when I did my first photo shoot at pole dance, and my instructor told me, Kat again, love you, shout out to Kat again, she's going to be getting all the shout outs today. I remember her telling me sometimes the simplest moves are the most beautiful. And I thought in my head, yeah, well, I want to do all my difficult tricks that I've been doing, and I want to show off everything that I've done, and like I need to learn how to do this and this if I'm going to do this photo shoot. But on the day, I did take her advice. I did a couple of difficult ones, but I also did a couple of simple ones. And obviously, as I'm sharing this story, you can probably guess, she was right. She was right. The favourite photo from that first photo shoot I ever did was just me in a dress sitting on the pole. And a pole sit is a really basic move that you learn within the first 4 or 5 sessions of starting pole dance ever. It's a beginner move. And at this point I was going upside down and I was doing more difficult tricks, but that pole sit, the simplicity of it and the way I delivered it and how simple it was so beautiful. It's framed in both my parents' houses, and it was by far my favourite photo. And later on I learned the exact same thing when I was choreographing my own routines. But over time, what I've learned is that sometimes the simplicity of a movement makes that connection and that moment with the audience and with yourself so much more beautiful. I actually remember one of my students a few years ago, we were doing her routine, and it was a complex routine with lots of cool tricks, and I remember her at the end of the performance coming up to me laughing and saying, I did all these difficult tricks and my boyfriend liked the side sit. And I was just laughing because a side sit, again, it's a really basic move that you learn in beginner class. And she was an advanced pole dancer at this point, and she was like, this is the moment that he remembered. And I was like, it's so funny that sometimes you don't know what's going to make an impact with people, and it's not about the complexity or how big the move is, it's how you deliver it, the confidence, the connection. I just really like that philosophy. One of my old managers used to use the KISS mentality, or the keep it simple stupid mentality, and it used to make me laugh, obviously, but it's so true, because sometimes you don't have to bring everything. You don't have to be a massive expert. You don't have to be the most advanced person. You can just bring a simple version of something, and you never know how meaningful that's going to be to someone else. And as I was writing this section, it made me realize that I am not embodying this right now with my Instagram. I'm overthinking everything. I'm trying to make it overproduced. I am avoiding posting altogether because I think it's not good enough. And writing this actually made me realize sometimes the simplest things are the most impactful. And so I'm going to take that away. This is my thing that I have learned from myself in this episode. And I wonder if there's anything where you might be overcomplicating it, or if you're not showing up because you're worried it's not enough. And this section brings me really nicely onto number 3. And number 3 is probably the rawest one for me, the one that made me feel the most as I was thinking about it. And it's trust that what you have to offer is enough. And I think that one probably runs deep for a lot of people. Oh, what if what I have isn't good enough? What if what I want to do isn't enough for people? What if it's not impressive enough? What if it's not advanced enough? I really used to struggle with this in my competitions. And I'm going to tell you my story there because I hope it will inspire you in the way that I was inspired. So I actually didn't start competing in pole dance for 6 years, which is quite late. And the reason I competed so late is because I didn't want to look stupid. I didn't want to make a fool of myself. I didn't want people thinking that I was really bad and laughing at me. I realized how many of my problems in the past and currently come from what I'm worried people are going to think about me. Like, honestly, tragic girl. But I remember I put it off for so long, and eventually I did start competing, but every competition I did, I overthought my routine. I was constantly trying to put in all of the tricks, make it as hard as I possibly could, make it really fast-paced, make it a big routine that I thought people would expect to see at my level. I was so worried that I would show up on stage and people would say, oh, is that it? Is that all you've got? That I tried to make it so difficult. But by doing that, I was being inconsistent with my themes. I was not perfecting a style. I was constantly hopping between them. I was changing my routine up until the last minute because I never thought it was enough. And as soon as it became too easy, I added something else. And then sometimes I'd get so overwhelmed that I'd put off putting the routine together at all, which ended up in the routine being messy. Even though I was proud I was going on stage and I did perform, I always got to the end of a routine and I thought, thank fuck that is over. I'm so glad I never had to do that again. And it was quite sad because I'd put months of training into this routine for me to be so happy to never have to do it again. And during these competitions, I didn't place, I didn't get any sashes, and I got the same feedback all the time about my micro bends and my transitions. And in the end, I decided to stop competing because I just assumed I wasn't good enough. I thought, well, I'm obviously not good enough to compete because no one likes my routines and I don't like competing. I don't like my routines. So I'm clearly not a very good competitor. And I remember when I moved to Australia and I was doing my mindset work. And after a lot of reflection, I realized that actually, sorry, as I'm saying this, my picture of me at that competition I'm about to talk about just came up on my photo album. So anyway, I did my mindset work. I was really focusing on becoming the version of myself that I've truly wanted to be, the most aligned version. And I remember thinking, Maddie, you need to enter a competition because you need to prove to yourself that you can show up no matter what other people think. And so I entered this competition and I was shitting my pants. Let me tell you, I was pooing my little panties, and I've never said that before in my life. What the fuck? And I remember these feelings that I'd been pushing down started to come up, like, oh, your routine isn't going to be good enough. You're not advanced enough. You're just going to make a fool of yourself. Everyone's going to wonder why you're competing. And I felt so negative, but I had the mindset tools in place, which I'm now practicing again, like I keep saying. And I said, no, we're going to change what success looks like. No longer are we going to pin success in this competition on if you win or if it's hard enough or if you're the most advanced person. We're going to have two measures of success, and those measures are going to be, number one, are you proud of how you showed up and did it feel authentic to your style? And number two, did you have fun? Would you happily do that performance again? And if you can get to the end of your competition piece on the day and say yes to both of those questions, then you're the winner. Oh God, I'm getting emotional. Again, lol. And so that's how I trained. That was the questions I was asking myself every time I went to practice, every time I was considering putting another trick in, every time I was considering whether my slow, slinky style that I'd come to love was enough for these competition judges. And on the day I was doing my breathing, I was doing my affirmations, you are enough, you have got this. And I did the performance. I really enjoyed it. I loved the performance. And I got to the end and I thought, you've done it. It doesn't matter now. It doesn't matter if you place, because you did this performance that felt really true to you in your style, that was not complex, but that was enough and it was good. And I actually won that competition, which was amazing. And I remember when they announced the winner, I already felt like a winner because I had done this thing I was really scared to do. But when they said my name, for a minute I was like, excuse me, like I kind of looked around a little bit. And then I went up and I was like, oh my God, I have just won this competition, what the fuck? And I was so happy. And it wasn't just because I'd won. Don't get me wrong, like obviously there is always a part of you who wants to win in a competition. Like I'm not going to go there and be like, I want to lose. Like great, I loved getting the sash and the crown and everything. But what was really important is that for the first time I had given myself permission to show up truly as myself and do something that I was proud of and something that felt really good in my body and in my heart. And that was enough. That was something that the audience loved. That was something that the judges loved. And I didn't have to do all these hard tricks, and I didn't have to do something that didn't feel right to me, because actually by connecting authentically I was able to achieve more than I ever had by trying to push through discomfort and things that didn't feel aligned to me. And then I kept competing, and I won 2 more competitions and came runner-up in another one. And every time I competed, I had those same 2 questions. Am I proud? Did I enjoy it? And yeah, that's my number 3. That one's really, really makes me emotional every time I think about it. And as you can probably tell, I'm now trying to apply this to my life at the minute. And I'm not really succeeding. I'm not going to lie to you. As I was writing this episode, I realized that all of these things that have worked for me in the past, I said the same thing last week, I've not been doing them. And it's so annoying when you know what to do, but you realize you're not doing it. And so I really want to take this mentality of just doing what feels good for me into my podcast, into my Instagram account, and just trust that if I'm vulnerable and share my truth and share my authenticity, that people will like it. And you know what? Even if they don't, like I said, my 2 questions, am I proud? Did I enjoy it? That's what I'm really trying to bring into my Instagram now, going forward. Like I said, don't think I'm doing that right now. And as I was saying that, I wonder if you were thinking of an area of your life where you are pushing through or overcomplicating or doing something where you're wondering if it's going to be enough. And if there's anything I can tell you and myself right now, it is that you are enough. And what you have to offer the world is enough. And that's my number 3. Dear Lord, I'm getting emotional during this, aren't I? But I'm trying to be more vulnerable. So what's more vulnerable than me sitting here on my period crying about my pole dancing? Love you girls. And my 4th and final one is one that I absolutely love. I think I've actually maybe saved my favourite till last. No, I did like the last one. Okay, number 3 and 4 are my joint favourites. And my number 4 is progress isn't linear and growth is constant. I'm going to give a really specific example, and it's something I always tell my students now, because when you're pole dancing, and if I'm honest, probably anything, any skill that you develop, if anyone here is into sports or into any other type of fitness or a skill or a craft, then there will be times when you see a huge amount of growth in a short period and you think, wow, I'm really progressing, I'm doing amazing, I'm doing great. And then you'll plateau for a bit, and it will look like on the surface you're not making any changes. And even though you're showing up exactly as you did in your growth section, you're not actually seeing the results of that. And it's so easy to get disheartened in that phase and to think, oh, maybe I've hit my wall, maybe I'm shit, maybe I'm not very good at this, and to start doubting yourself and if you're doing the right thing. And what I always tell my students and myself, because it doesn't matter what level of pole you get to, you're always going to have these trends, is that growth is not linear. And it's really easy to be excited by everything that you see in those growth periods, but actually what's happening in those periods where you feel like you're plateauing is that you are building the foundations needed to level up. If you try to do advanced move beyond what your body was capable of without building the strength, without building the flexibility, or without conditioning and learning to engage the relevant muscles, then you would end up injuring yourself. And it would take you back even further. And the reality is, even though you can't see the progress in that phase, you are building the core skills, the core strength needed to level up. And so even though it looks like you stand still for ages and then you just have a random growth spurt and you're like, wow, look, I'm amazing again. What's actually happened is that you've been growing that whole time. But it's only that last bit where the external growth has been visible. And I remember hearing a really similar thing when I was doing direct sales. When I was in my early 20s, I joined what I would now describe as a cult, I'm not going to lie. But it was basically selling to people on the street, going up to people and getting them to sign up to charities and stuff like that. Sorry to anyone who has been victimized by these people before. I was one of them, I'm sorry. And I remember every morning we used to do some sales training. And one of my favorite lessons was called the bamboo theory. And the story goes like this. The story is like a bedtime story, like children. Not the story, the lesson. The lesson goes like this. There was once a panda, maybe it is a story. There was once a panda who planted some bamboo seeds because he wanted to grow his own bamboo. And he gave it all of the water, he gave it all the nutrients, he gave it all the sunlights, and day after day, that bamboo wasn't growing. And he was doing all the right things and he was wondering, well, is there anything I'm missing? Should I be doing something else instead? And he started to get really disheartened. He became a sad panda. And then one day, after a couple of weeks of no growth, where he was starting to feel like giving up, he went outside and there was this big bamboo shoot in his garden, and he thought, oh my goodness, where has this come from? This is amazing. And what he didn't realize is that even though he only saw the growth of that bamboo after a couple of weeks, what had been happening every single day is that those roots had been growing deeper and deeper into the soil. They started off as little baby roots, and then every day they got a bit bigger and a bit bigger. And it was growing a foundation that was big and strong enough to hold the growth that was going to happen above the soil. If that bamboo would have grown too quickly, then it would have just toppled right over because it didn't have the foundations yet. But because that panda kept giving it the sunlight and the nutrients and the water, it became big and strong enough to support that massive bamboo growth. And I think about those things, both the pole analogy and the panda analogy. Every time I think of pandas, I think of my best friend Laura in France because she loves pandas. If you're listening to this, Laura, sending love. But I think about the pole and the panda and how that applies to pretty much every area of life. It doesn't always look like you're making progress, and you might be thinking of a completely different area right now. Again, you might be doing something fitness related. It might be your work or career. It might be friendships, relationships, where you feel like you're putting in the reps and doing all the things you're meant to be doing and you're not seeing any changes. And what I've learned from Pole, from that panda, lol, is that you will have your bamboo week. You will have your growth spurt. It will come. That growth is happening as we speak, but it's all of those foundations. It's laying the roots that's going to be strong enough to support that growth. And what I'm telling myself with this Instagram account and with the podcast, and what I'll tell you as well, girly, is keep doing what you're doing. Keep putting in those reps. Keep going. It feels frustrating when you're in that period where it looks like nothing is changing, but you just have to trust the process like I am. And if we keep doing what we're meant to be doing, we are going to see the results that we want to see. And it doesn't matter how long it takes, because we're going to get there when we're meant to. And that, my lovely ladies, is my episode. Thank you so much for listening to that one. That one made me feel the feels, as you can tell, because I kept crying. I just really wanted to share that with you. I've been thinking about this episode for a while, and it just seemed like the right time to tell those stories, as I'm just starting to show up on Instagram more, learning to be more comfortable with vulnerability. I thought this was a good time to reflect back on things that I've learned in my past, things that I know have worked, and to share that with you in case you're also at a point where you're feeling like you're not sure if what you're doing is enough, or you are holding back on doing something because you don't think you're ready, or if you're getting frustrated because you're not seeing the results of your labor. And I just want to reassure you that, firstly, you're not alone. We're in this together, girls. This is exactly why I started this podcast, because I want to do this together. I want to be with you. I want you to know I'm there. And if you want to reach out and share your stories, honestly, I'd love to hear from you. Please drop me an Instagram DM. Shift with Maddie is my handle. And if you are interested in pole dancing, by the way, I do have a separate pole dance account called Maddie Rose Pole. So feel free to follow that as well if you're interested in pole dancing. But my main account is Shift with Maddie. And let's keep going on this journey together. I'm so grateful that you're here. Thank you for listening to this episode. I'll be back again next week, as always, with another episode. Don't know what it's on yet. Again, I'm trying to do this week by week so I can actually share what's going on in real time. But I will definitely be back, so stay tuned. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate, review, subscribe, send to a friend, anything that's going to share the love, spread the word, because it's really hard to grow a podcast, it turns out. It's actually not that easy. Even though I have got people who are downloading and listening, and I'm eternally grateful, I'd love to be able to share the love with this podcast. So please do rate, review, subscribe, share, to help it get visible, and I will see you soon, girlies. Thank you for listening to Shift with Maddie. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will see you next time. Goodbye for now. Mwah.